Seriously, like, what parent doesn't want that for their kid? I mean, if that was a pill that parents could buy, they totally would. Everybody would buy that pill because it sounds like amazing, right? Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is about why reading to your kids is such a big deal. So you're probably watching this video for one of two reasons. Either you already read to your kids and you want to know like what the benefits are or what I'm saying the benefits are, or you don't read to your child very much and you're thinking like maybe I should. What's the big deal, right? I'm just going to give you some of the reasons why it is such a big deal. I'm not a doctor. This is just based on my research. Also, stick around to the end if you want to hear my bonus advice, like my tips for how to read to your children if you're really busy, because I totally get it. I am a stay-at-home, work from home, homeschooling mom, and I don't feel like I've got a lot of spare time. But I make it a priority, and we tend to get a lot of reading in, even with our other responsibilities. Okay, so the very first reason that I like reading to my kids is because it stimulates their brain. They're using their brain to imagine, and it's causing their brain to work. And children learn the most, like their brain develops from infancy at a rapid rate. So when you are reading to them, you're helping their brain to be able to work faster and grasp more, and you're just setting them up for success, even as an infant. So the very first thing is that it stimulates their brain, right? According to American Academy of Pediatrics, reading regularly with young children stimulates optimal patterns of brain development and strengthens parent-child relationships, which in turn builds language, literacy, and emotional skills that last a lifetime. So seriously, like, what parent doesn't want that for their kid, to have emotional and literacy and language skills that will last them a lifetime just from reading to them? I mean, if that was a pill that parents could buy, they totally would. Everybody would buy that pill because it sounds like amazing, right? But books are that medicine. I mean, they're essentially like a medicine for children emotionally, mentally, physically. It's crazy, actually, what reading can do for kids, even as infants. Reading together strengthens the bond of love. Now, I would have found that to be true in like what I feel. I remember my dad reading to me as a child. I remember our entire family sitting around in a circle and my dad sitting in his chair reading us stories. Now, whether I found those particular stories really stimulating or not, the feeling and the comfort and the love that I remember of all of us sitting there cozily listening to my dad read, that has stuck with me for my entire life. And I can still hear the rhythm of his reading and the tone of his voice and the stories that he told. So when you read out loud to your child, you are actually releasing these neurochemicals that bring that feeling of comfort and trust. And you also you're experiencing a journey together. You're going on a trip to wherever it is that this book is taking you. So sometimes we're reading books about history or even fairy tales that are they're not actually a real place. But when you do that with your child, you're connecting in a special way. And I mean, I smile when I see parents and children and they have this like special bond and they're, retelling a story or experiencing something together. Now, I will admit here that I do think that family movies, like movies that you watch as a family, can cause kind of a similar thing as far as that special bonding moment. But there's other things that reading does that far outweigh the benefits of watching movies together. So the next thing that reading does is it broadens our vocabulary. Now, hold up before you're like, oh, don't care. I wasn't certain that I didn't really care that much. I mean, as far as like, well, my kids don't need to have a, 100 million wider vocabulary than the other child. For example, some of the things that vocabulary actually does impact is other like school skills, other educational skills. For example, math. Research has showed that children struggling with math beyond 4th grade aren't actually necessarily struggling with math. They're not struggling with the numbers. They're actually struggling with the vocabulary and understanding and comprehension of what they're being told to do with those numbers. Vocabulary actually plays a huge impact on every aspect of their education, which is encouraging when you read a lot to your kids, but a little bit terrifying when you don't read a lot to your kids. Because if they're not being read to and they're not understanding the vocabulary, it's setting them up for failure in every other department that they're a part of. Because being able to understand and comprehend what's being read to you is so important for everything that you're supposed to be doing for your education. According to Pro Literacy, more than 30 million adults in the United States cannot read or write or do basic math beyond a third grade level. 30 million adults in the United States. Mind blown. I was like, what? That was so sad to me to hear that that many people were not even able to read or write at a proficient level beyond the third grade, which is so sad, but it can be fixed. Reading to your children is like the first step in changing those numbers and making it so that more and more people and adults and kids beyond third grade can do math and reading and writing beyond that level. And just reading to your kids increases their chances of being able to do that. Another thing that reading does for your kids is teaches them to hold their attention, right? In our distracted age, it's actually almost rewarded to not be able to pay attention. Video games reward it, movies encourage it by all of the fast-moving pieces, and it's hard to teach a child, I think so it's hard for adults too, to pay attention and to keep their attention on one thing. I think the attention span of the average American is like 8 seconds or something. Like you have that long to grab them. And that's really sad. I mean, I think it's sad for a number of reasons, but for children, it's actually like a real problem because when they go to school, they have to be able to focus on what the teacher's saying. And when the teacher has to re-grab their attention every couple seconds, that's a problem. Like they can't do that. Reading to your child encourages them and teaches them how to pay attention and how to stay focused. Now, because it rewards paying attention, right? If you think about a room where the teacher is reading the story and it's engaging, and she's like, not necessarily showing them the pictures or anything, but she is bringing them on that journey with her, or he's bringing them on that journey with him, the kids are enraptured. A lot of times, I mean, I can quiet a room. My kids might be very loud other times, but if I'm reading them a story that they're fully engaged in, they'll sit there quietly listening. And this is coming from a mom with 3 boys that like to play rowdy. But they can sit there and they get pulled into that story and they're really engaged, and it's increasing their attention span, which is good for them. It's good for their education. It's good for their learning skills. It's good for a lot of things. So if your child, if you're thinking like, oh shoot, like I don't even know what to have him read, I'll put a link up here, one of the sides, for the book recommendations that I've read to my kids or that my son has read on his own. And they're really good stories. So if you're thinking you have a reluctant reader, I have some suggestions on that list. Check it out and go ahead and see if you can find some like reluctant reader books, because I do know it can be a little hard to get started. I know that when I first started reading a lot more to my son, I had already read to him as a child, but when he went into first grade, I started reading to him quite a bit more. And it turned out that he, at first he really struggled with sitting there that long because he wasn't used to it. But the more we did it, the more he's gotten used to it. I would encourage you to spend just even 15 minutes a day reading out loud to your kids, or 30 minutes a day. Maybe meet with a friend and ask her if she can kind of help you remember to do it, or maybe join a book club. But something to encourage you guys so that you can read together, even if it's not something that comes easily to you. But bonus tip here is if you're thinking like, shoot, I just learned that all these things, all this reading is so important, but I don't have hours a day. If you just don't have time, get Audible. Oh my gosh. I'm not sponsored by Audible, so, this isn't like a paid promotion, but Audible or Overdrive, the online library, we get so many books on Overdrive, and Overdrive also does digital reading, but we don't use it for that. We just listen on there. So Overdrive or Audible, I'll put links below. They're so helpful. You can put, maybe like an Alexa or something like that device, or even just your phone on your kitchen counter and have them sit in there and listen with you while you're making dinner. Or you can listen to it in the car or while you're cleaning the house. But if you have a phone loud enough, which I think most of the phones nowadays are, you can have it playing, and then you can pause it and take time to interact I will say reading out loud to your children, you're going to get more benefits from reading out loud to them than you will from Audible. But if you're interacting with them and you're asking them questions along the way, you're still, experiencing with them, and they're still hearing the words even if they're not coming from your mouth, which is important, by the way. But they're still getting to go on that journey with you. Okay, guys, so if you want more tips and you want like all the numbers, this book by Meghan Gurdon, I think is her last name, is how you say it, but by Meghan Gurdon, she did this phenomenal book. I read it, I took all kinds of notes because it was so interesting, and I highly recommend it if you want to know why to read to your kids. And actually, it talks about reading all the way up through like from infancy to reading in nursing homes and how healthy it is for the adults in the nursing homes being read to. So I highly recommend this book. It was such a good read, and it's just really inspiring. It made me just want to like throw it down and go pick up a book and read to my kids even more. So definitely recommend this book. I have some really good ideas for infant books, and I would love to share them with you. So just be sure to comment if you are looking for books to read out loud or you want any ideas. If you guys want some awesome Audible book suggestions, just check out this video I made up here about book recommendations for middle graders, but it's also great for read alouds of any age. And I'll see you in the next video.